Nation, Max Finn here with another episode of the Unicorn Perspective. Today I got to sit down with Molly Pittman. Molly is an absolute rock star when it comes to digital marketing. I know I say that a lot on this show. It seems like every week I talk to another rock star, and that's really the case, because the only reason I do this show, the whole purpose of this, was first for me, because I like to sit down and talk to really smart people. I like to chat with people that I'm friends with or would like to build a relationship with, and I know a lot about them. We have mutual friends. And so the priority for me is always like, I want to have a fun conversation. And the added benefit is I get to record these conversations and then share them. So that's a bonus. But I always lead first with, this is the person I really, really want to speak with, and I think they're going to be a fun conversation for me. And so that's why every week it's just an amazing person, because I'm kind of selfish. I want to talk to amazing people. So Molly's been somebody, I've bought her courses. I followed her programs. Back when I was kind of just getting started, she was having a really, really rapid rise of success and kind of influence in the industry when she was at Digital Marketer, going from an intern to one of their top players in the company. And so it's amazing getting to now have a conversation with her, build a relationship with her, and share and mind share and see where she's at now. Now she's working with Ezra Firestone. She's now the CEO of Smart Marketer. Ezra's kind of info product business. She's spearheading the future of that company. So today we sat down, we talked a lot about our mutual, our mutual paths, our similar paths that we had of success, and the opportunities we both got, the types of people we worked with, the types of industries we've worked in, things we've done. So we have a lot of similarities there. So we just shared a lot about that. We also talked about what the future holds for the info market business. So any type of marketing training, biz ops, all that stuff on the info side. It's a big, big market. It's growing really, really fast. There's a lot of problems with it, but there's also a lot of opportunities for businesses that are doing it right. And Molly is one of those people, along with Ezra, who together they are doing it right. They have some really, really interesting ideas and plans for the future. And she shared that in the interview today. So a lot of great stuff, a lot of great gems, like always. So enjoy, and I'll see you on the next one. All right, Molly. It's funny. Like I've talked to this way with a few people over the years, where there's people who our industry is really small. It's big, but like the longer you're in it, the smaller it gets. The people that are still kind of doing it and
So true.
haven't burned bridges and stuff. And it's weird. Like I'll hop on calls with people I've never spoken to before. Like you and I have never actually had like a conversation. We've kind of we've like messaged before here or there, but like never had a conversation
Yeah. And we chatted in Austin once, I believe, at
once
Ezra's
at
All Stars
Ezra's
events.
thing.
Yeah.
But even then, funny, and this is a tangent, but like that was the first event that I ever spoke at. Ezra, I still give him
I
so
know.
much
I
credit
was
for
like,
this.
who's this guy? He's
Yeah,
smart.
he gave me he
Trying to
gave
get
me a
you on.
huge opportunity there, and I remember being in that room and like I was, every year let's like one person that nobody knows like speak, and then everyone else there is like really established, and there were so many people there. I was like, I know that person, I followed that person for a long time, and I went into it was like the post interview room where they were doing like post content, and you were doing it before, and I was like, oh, it's Molly. I like followed her for a long time and stuff. So it's cool to connect now. And we just spoke for like 10 minutes before I hit record. And that's how I always know when I'm interviewing people or talking to people, like that just hit it off, when I don't jump right into like pressing record, where it gets like very awkward.
Yeah.
Some people I talk to and it's like, it's just silent. And it's like, okay, I better press
You got
record.
to jump right into
But
it.
then there's a bunch of
Yeah.
people who I'll talk to, like one of my buddies, Nick Shackelford. Like we literally, I think, spoke for
Love that.
30 minutes before I hit I forgot. I was like, dude, we should record, because we just hit it. Every time we talk, we just end up chatting for so long and just dive in. So I knew we're gonna have a good interview, because like we just hit it off, and we both have dogs in our laps. We're both ready to go and share some
What
cool
else could
stuff.
you ask for?
I know
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
it's perfect. So I'm curious, because not identical stories, but like you had this really kind of fast rise where, just based on looking at your background and just reading about it and stuff, you went from kind of interning to becoming this rock star. Obviously not overnight, but in like a very short period of time, career wise. We look at people that build careers over decades to where
Of course.
you are today. Like, just
Hmm.
for my own curiosity, like talk me through
Of course.
what that looked like how you got started, and how you kind of grew so fast at digital marketer, and then what you're doing today with Ezra and everyone else.
Yeah, well, first off, again, thanks for having me. And I think
Of
that
course.
it is so true. I love hopping on podcasts, and I was a part of Perpetual Traffic for over 250 episodes, I think. And I agree, whenever you have that banter in the beginning and you're like, oh, we're running short on time, we need to actually record, that's the good stuff.
Yep.
And I know you record it too. We always send that to our editor because there are usually so many gems in there. But I couldn't agree more. And um, yeah, I think my story is really proof for what I find so interesting about our industry and kind of what bands us all together. And it's the fact that, like, we're at a point in time right now, obviously, if you're listening to this show, you know this, where we have this huge opportunity. People, I saw a stat the other day that e-commerce is still only like 3 to 4% of the entire US economy, right? It's
Yep.
still a very small part of the overall economy, and we are very much early adapters here. And because of the situation we're in, where the world is going digital and the skill sets that we've acquired, we have a position where we're able to evolve really quickly. And I think you see that in my career, you see that in your career, where there is this huge need for people to gain experience and to even work in this space. So I hope that my story is inspirational to you guys because, like you said, most people's careers are built over decades, right? If you're a doctor, you're a lawyer, or any other career path that we have kind of been sold, especially in the past, it's something that takes a lot more time. And there's really, these milestones that you follow. And we are just in uncharted territories here. And I think that's really cool. So I actually didn't have intentions in regards to being in digital marketing. I did study marketing in school, but I had no idea what I would do with that. I was actually working mostly in the spirits industry. So I started working for a bourbon distillery in Kentucky where I grew up, Buffalo Trace. And that's where I started to learn a lot of the fundamentals of marketing. They were doing mostly print advertising. I mean, definitely nothing digital. But it was great to get me started. And that led me to moving to Austin. And I knew that I needed to go to Austin for some reason, and then I needed to kind of accelerate my career path. And that's where I took this internship. So I was bartending at the time, doing whatever I could to pay the bills. This was about 8, 9 years ago now. And I found a post, an ad listing on Craigslist that immediately resonated with me. And it promised this 3-month experience where this, new startup company, which was super exciting to me at the time, like that whole idea, that culture, was going to hire 12 to 15 interns. And at the end of the 3-month program, which you were going to learn a lot, you were going to get paid, some of the people in the program would be hired full time. So I love that. It sounded interesting, and I'm competitive. I like working with other people.
It was like
So
Survivor,
I
digital marketer
yeah, it's like
Survivor.
Survivor. It's completely gamified. And so I went for an interview and we started like the next week. Like this all happened very fast. And honestly, everything since then has happened really fast. And I think that's what happens when you are in flow and you are kind of fulfilling your purpose and helping other people. And I've just gone with the flow since then and really made sure that I'm consistently showing up with a positive attitude, as Ezra always says, that I'm staying invested in this industry and serving people, that I'm staying in the know as things change, but also just seeing what comes my way. So, luckily, after those 3 months, I was hired full time. And I was placed, the company was called Idea Incubator, but after that, I was moved over to digital marketer, which a lot of you guys are probably familiar with. I know Roland was on the show. And I think I was the fourth or fifth person there back in 2012, which was such an amazing experience to be a part of. And over the next 5 years, working with those guys, I mean, I gained hundreds of years of wisdom just having access to really smart people who, laid the foundation of what this industry is and that constantly have their hands in different projects and pots. And it was such an experience. So I first started working with organic social media. I was building members areas, just doing all the scrap jobs that no one else wanted to do, just to try to get some experience and see like, where do I fit in
Yeah.
this overall, digital marketing landscape. And that's when I really became interested in Facebook advertising. And I went to Ryan. The media buyer at the company had just left, and I expressed my interest. He gave me access to a few courses, none not like courses we have today, and $1,000. And he said, "Okay, go launch a campaign selling this particular product and bring back more money. Bring back more than $1,000. I want to see a positive return on this." So I built that campaign out, and it worked. And we went from there. And I became the paid traffic manager, the media buyer. We were spending about $300,000 to $500,000 a month just a digital marketer on paid advertising, which was fun to go from nothing to that in
Yeah.
the course of a year or so. And I became the VP of marketing. So I was able to just kind of have a broad perspective on how to grow a business. How does a digital marketing team even operate? And like I said, it was such an amazing lesson. So about 2.5 years ago, decided it was time to go out, do my own thing, have my own entrepreneurial experience, kind of started my own agency, did a bit of coaching, consulting, which I still do a tad, but realized that wasn't my jam. I didn't want to build an agency. I loved teaching, and that's really my passion. And so Ezra and I actually met up a few years ago, and he said, "Hey, like I don't have the bandwidth to teach as much as I would like for Smart Marketer," which is the company he had founded. And so he brought me on to start producing some different courses, train traffic person, team traffic, which is a membership for media buyers. And then actually a few weeks ago, I became the CEO of that company. So we decided
Yep.
to
Congratulations
just
on that
further
again.
partner together. Thank you. Further partner together because we can accomplish more together. And myself and John Grimshaw, who also came on, we obviously have the experience. John worked at Digital Marketer alongside me too. Ezra is such an incredible human, and we got to really test this relationship out over the last few years, building these traffic programs. And now I'm excited to get back into a broader role and see how we can scale the company and serve more people. So that was a bit long, but
I love
that's
it.
the last 8 or 9 years of my life. And again, I hope it's just inspiration. Like for me, this industry and digital marketing, there is, again, we are early adopters here, right? There is so much opportunity, and everyone will have a different pathway into this world,
Yeah.
right? So whether it's through a career like myself, whether you start a business at age 15 like Ezra, or just, the true serial entrepreneurs, whether you have an agency, whether you're a freelancer, I mean, there is a spot for everybody here. And that's really the message I try to get across in my story.
Yeah, I agree. I think what's interesting is like my belief is that people talk about some people getting lucky, right? People having lucky breaks, and that like I think everyone gets lucky breaks, right? I think at some point it might happen a year in, might happen 10 years in, but I think everyone gets opportunities. I think what
Of
separates
course.
kind of the small percent of people from the masses is when people get opportunities, they realize they're an opportunity, they're willing to take that risk, right? They're able to jump in and uncertain waters and take advantage of it. Like I would imagine that
So
most
true.
people with where you're at in the digital marketing in the early days, if Ryan comes to a lot of people and said, "Hey, you're brand new to this, you have no experience. I want you to take this money, my money, and I want you to make more money out of it." A lot of
Yeah.
people might have passed on that, right? It's a big risk. If I
Or
fail, do I get
you can
fired?
fail.
Yeah, and it's probably
Yeah,
very likely you're gonna fail,
absolutely.
right? That's an incredible
Yeah.
test. Like $1,000, just $1,000, not much
Yeah.
money, and like make more money, right? With no
Yeah.
data, no nothing. But and so I think a lot of people you need to like understand that it's like when there's those opportunities presented to you, it's about realizing that this is the break and not saying no, right?
Yes.
Not thinking about all the bad things that can
Yeah.
happen because bad things can happen all the time.
Yes.
I think the worst thing that can happen is hindsight, right? It's like looking back and saying that was the break. Like if you had said no and just kept kind of on your
Mm.
roll and some other
Yeah.
person on the team said yes, and
Of
they're
course.
now, they're Molly Pittman today, right? They're exactly where you
Yeah.
are,
Oh,
and you're like, that
yeah.
person was working next to me, and they said yes. Like that happens to a lot of people. They
Yeah.
look back on
Which
their life and realize I didn't take that opportunity when I should have.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that you can look at, quote unquote successful people and say, oh, they got lucky or they were handed certain opportunities. And I believe that if you put yourself in the right environment, right, that you feel you're aligned with, work with people that you have common goals with, that, are moving forward in the way that you want to move forward, of course, opportunities are going to come across. And the only thing keeping you from those is fear of failure. Or
Yep.
just being complacent. And not everyone has to evolve as quickly as I have, as quickly as you have. I mean, that's a choice. And I think it's something that's also just ingrained in a lot of humans. So, your path is your path and it's whatever makes you happiest. But I do know that there are even more opportunities out there than I'm able to take advantage of. And another skill set to learn too, especially a bit later in your career, is what to say no to. Because the other side of the sword there is that yes, I've said yes to a lot of opportunities, and therefore it has catapulted me in a way. But it also has caused a bit of burnout, and I've also had to teach myself how to say no. So, just wanted to
Yeah.
add that little bit in
I
also.
couldn't agree more. So I want to unpack those two things because I think that they're both super important. We'll start with the second thing. So that's a really, really hard trait to develop because when you're getting started, you're in this kind of scarce mindset where I don't have money, I don't have resource, I don't have to pay the bills, and so I'm fighting for somebody to give me a chance, right? In the early days, or
Yeah,
get a client or opportunity,
yeah,
and so anything that comes your way, you say
right.
yes, and it's like that Maslow's hierarchy
Yes,
survival, right? So you get trained to
yeah.
say yes to
And you've got to
survive.
do that.
You've got to do it, right?
You've got like that's a point I wanted to make a few minutes ago is like a lot of the issues I'm seeing with people maybe they're feeling they're not as successful as they should be in this industry is understanding your place and where you are. Like I said, I was willing to come in, put my ego aside and say, I don't know anything about digital marketing at all. Other than I have a Facebook profile as a consumer. Like I
Yeah.
know nothing about it. And therefore, I'm willing to absorb and take the opportunities on. And if you aren't willing to put that ego aside and you want to come in with a really high paying job or, just expecting something when you haven't built the skill set yet or developed the experience, because we know that they're not teaching this stuff in college. So there's really no other way to develop the skill set other than courses that people like us put out and gaining experience. So, especially when you're just getting started, yes, you have to pay the bills, you have to feed yourself, but the other currency that's just as important in your career is your experience. And there is not a lack of opportunity in digital marketing. Almost every business in the world could benefit from digital marketing in this moment. So there is
Yeah.
an opportunity for you, however you want to spin that or whatever feels fun to you. So I just wanted to add that in there because you've got, especially when you're just learning, you got to be able to put that ego aside and say, I don't know much, but I'm open to experiences that can teach me so that I can, move forward on this path.
Definitely. So yeah, saying yes in the early days, then it's what happens is you get to a point where you no longer need to say yes to everything, but you've been programmed
Yeah.
and trained that I need to say yes.
Mhm.
And that's an interesting transition point. At least for me it was like we had our agency with Kevin for a long time with Kevin Harrington, and then we transitioned to Unicorn, my partner Jeremy and I, and we went from the first part of our careers to kind of Unicorn, and we were getting started, and Kevin sent us so much deal flow, and we're like, so grateful. And I'll get to that second point, which is the relationship part, but like saying yes to every deal. Hey, you want to give us 5K a month? We'll do everything. Want social media? Want blogs? Okay, we'll do it. Hey, you want to pay us like
Wow.
$2,000 a month? What, like you get into that habit where it's you're saying yes, 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 and
Mm.
but then you realize, hey, like at the time we had 3M as a client, and then we had all
Mhm.
these. It's like, well, we put the same amount of work into 3M, and they pay us a lot more than these people down here. Like, why are we still
Mm.
saying yes? And it's hard
Yeah.
because you're kind of been programmed that like if I say no, I'm leaving money. But like
Yes.
the shift for me was money is not the only currency. Once like once you get that base level of like financial comfort where you no longer worry about paying rent month to month or bills or anything, it's no longer like, hey, if you make an extra few $1,000s a month, an extra 10,000, extra $20,000 a month, is it going to change your life? No. Once you
Mm.
get to that kind of point, then it's, well, what do I really value? Well, it's
Yeah.
time, it's happiness. I want to be happy. And so then it's like,
Mm.
if you're taking on clients that pay you anything, right? Low end clients, medium tier clients, like they're usually, and
It's
this is a
opportunity cost.
generalization, there's an opportunity cost. They're usually a pain in the ass. Agency work just in general, it's like a lot of phone calls, a lot of complaints. They always love to complain to their media buyer, the traffic team. You get blamed for everything. And so it's like, is 5K a month or 8K a month or 10K a month, is it worth the feeling you feel every week of getting on that client call and dreading it? Like, because I've been there, right? It's like that client where it's,
Yeah.
oh, the calls today.
That's
We
the
got to be on it.
exact experience I had.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's like when I left digital marketer, I had to pay the bills. Like I was used to, generating a salary every month. And so I did exactly what you just said. Like I basically said yes to everything. I was making more money than I'd ever made in my life. And about 3 to 4 months in, I was like, holy shit, I'm in over my head. I don't like being on this many calls. Setting expectation is tough. I don't want to build out a team to manage this. I don't quite know how to structure it. Like I very quickly realized it wasn't for me, which I'm grateful for, but I could see how that could spin out of control very quickly. And I had to like realign myself and say, what do I actually want to do?
Yep.
It's teaching. And how does this look? Like how can I still fulfill that and still serve people and have the life that I want to live? Because that's a big reason that I left DM. Like I wanted to be able to travel more, live where I want to live, not live as much of a structured 9 to 5 drive to the office every day. I mean, that's a huge appeal of what we do. So Ezra already had this team built out and an audience built out, and I had an audience built out, and it made sense, but it was a huge adjustment period. And saying no to like kind of shutting down the client stuff and saying no to that cash, like I can't tell you how many times I was thinking like, Molly, you're leaving money on the table. Is there ever going to be another time in your life where you'll be able to just grab
Yeah.
this cash? Like, but I had to then think, okay, well, that equals X amount of my time that I know I need to spend resting or, doing something else that's fulfilling in my life that's going to make the business even better. So I couldn't understand more like what you were discussing. And I think a lot of people go through this.
Yeah. It's super common. It's like, I would say most students of mine, most people that I've coached over the years, like that is one of the most challenging parts is that
Mm.
transition period from like broke and struggling to making money successful, like that period, because you've caught up financially, but your mindset, like your mindset, your mentality hasn't changed, hasn't adapted yet. It's still like back in the survival mode. But the other part of what you said earlier, which is really interesting because it's totally true in my opinion, and a huge part of I think our success, Jeremy, myself, and Unicorn, is surrounding yourself with really really successful, smart, like well respected people,
Mm.
and doing whatever you can to get in the same room, provide value with them, and work with them. Because for us, you
Yes.
know, we've put in a lot of years of work and we've busted our ass. And I'm 100% confident that we would have gotten to where we are today at some point. But like having an agency with Kevin for 2 years and traveling with him everywhere and being his like
Yeah.
go-to guys for marketing, that got us in the room with a lot of very,
Yes.
very high level people. Like we would walk around
Yeah.
trade shows with him and like
Yeah.
walk around. It's like, oh, it's Montel Williams. Let's go talk to him. And just like, it's like, it was crazy. It would never happen a year ago, 2 years ago, but now we're in this totally different world because of our association with him.
Yeah, I mean, you get so much further ahead just because you are able, any person like that, and it's not just the Kevin Harringtons. I mean, there are tons of influential, powerful people that have momentum in business right now. So it makes sense that, especially when you're just getting started, okay, so like let's say that instead of taking that internship, I decided I was going to learn digital marketing on my own and I was going to take clients and go that route. That is a route I could have taken and there's nothing wrong with it. But this obviously wasn't planned, but I think subconsciously I knew that jumping on with someone that already has that amount of momentum, because someone like that needs help more than anybody else, right?
Yes. Yes.
Kevin Harrington, Ryan Dice, like they are such powerful thought leaders, but they can't do it on their own. And they know that one of their most important currencies is manpower and the people that work with them and work for them. And so to facilitate a relationship, Kevin and yourself or Ryan and I, like that's mutually beneficial both ways, because my career accelerated so much more quickly. And, Ryan in digital marketer, I think that business accelerated so much more quickly because I was involved.
Yep.
And so both parties win. And I think, especially if you're looking to gain that momentum, there are people that already have the momentum that need help. And not everybody should be the entrepreneur. Not everybody wants to do it on their own. John Grimshaw, that I mentioned earlier, is a great example of this. Like I said, I hired John at Digital Marketer. He was a marketing coordinator, turned into the data and analytics guy. Then he became the marketing manager, really ran that team. And we left Digital Marketer around the same time and have really like stayed working together. And now he's the CMO at Smart Marketer, and he makes all of the stuff that you see from Ezra and I happen. Like we're front facing, we set the direction, but and we like are a lot of the force behind the momentum, but so is he, and we couldn't do it without him, and vice versa. So and that's just one person on a team of many. So
Yeah.
I love that you brought that up, because that is an option at any time in your career, is to join forces with other people, because I think in many situations you both benefit more from it than you would if you did it on your own.
Without a doubt. I think the assumption that a lot of people have, and I'm sure people watching this video might even say is, well, like, how does Ryan Dice or Kevin Harrington or these people, like, they don't need me, right? Like they're so successful. I'm like a newbie, or I'm getting started, or I don't have a name or a brand. Like, how do I get them to even pay attention to me? What I say to people is, and I'm curious to get your opinion on this as well. I imagine it's gonna be something similar. Like, people like that get to where they are by identifying talent and motivating them and investing in them. Like, you don't become a multimillionaire or a billionaire by doing all the work yourself and just hoarding the money. You can't scale a business. Like, you can maybe build $1 million business just doing your own stuff, but like if you want to build a company, right, you need to identify talent, invest in them, compensate them well, build a culture, build a team around them. And so those guys, those women, they know, like, hey, this person has a skill set that I can benefit from. I don't want to do it. I don't know how to do it. I'm going to bring them to my team. I'm going to invest in them, and they're going to make me a lot more money, and I'm not going to do any of the work. Right. Like, and all those powerful people, that's how they get to where they are. And they continue to do that. So they all need something, right? They don't have everything
Mhm.
figured out.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, I think that there's also like we just found ourselves in the digital marketing industry, which is like this really small market, like at least
Yep.
right now. And so, we came across people that are powerful in this industry or powerful in business. But if you were thinking like, how do I do that? That's not really what I would be thinking first. Like the first thing I would think is, okay, I want to get into digital marketing. The opportunity actually lies in all the verticals and all the industries that aren't using digital marketing to the fullest. Like that's where the opportunity is, because they're not using it, right? Like that is just there's so much opportunity there. I'm just kind of repeating myself, but
No, but
so
it's
I,
true.
I think I think understanding that, like, to be good at digital marketing doesn't mean you need to be a guru or that you need to be selling courses or that you need to operate in this like bubble that, we kind of operate in. And I'm proud of that. And I think both of us operate outside of it too. But I just want to lay that out there. Like, I don't think that's necessarily the goal. I think the goal would be, okay, first off, I want to be in this digital marketing, digital business deal. What skills do I currently have? Even if you feel like you don't have any digital marketing skills, like, are you a good writer? Like, are you a good communicator? Are you more technically minded? Do you like working with people? Like, what do you feel is your skill set and what's interesting to you? Because if you first think about that, then you can kind of pick the area of digital marketing that you think you want to even be involved in. Like for me, I love psychology. I love humans. I'm definitely empathetic. I like to think about what other people are thinking and I care about that. So being a media buyer and placing ads that catches people's attention, like that obviously made sense for
Yeah.
me. Where, John, for example, is much more data oriented. So he handles the analytics and the project management, and he's kind of that side of the brain. So I think you first need to understand that. Then think about, okay, is there a vertical that I am curious about? So luckily, you and I are not only good at marketing, but we nerd out about it because we're shooting this video right now. And I would say are like borderline obsessed with this
Hmm.
topic, which makes us a perfect fit for everything you just discussed. Like, someone that's coachable, someone that's really interested. Like, this is what powerful people are looking for, someone that's a sponge, someone that's a leader and can serve others. I think that's a huge thing that, other leaders are looking for. But also realizing, like I said, it might not be in the digital marketing space. Maybe you love animals and you feel that is like what you think about, that's what you're interested in, and you want to take this skill set and you want to go apply it to this industry. Then that looks like being in places where those people are, right? Trade shows or online, hitting them up on LinkedIn, giving value, whatever you can do to really prove yourself. But I don't know if that's helpful. I think the first thing is like, what do you want to do? Like, what's your skill set? What area do you feel that you fit in? Because if you're like, I can help with digital marketing, that's really broad. But if you say, like, hey, I can help you with your ads, let's run a test, like you and I do, that's so much more attractive to someone and so much less risk. And then apply that to a market that you feel very interested in. For us, it's digital marketing. And I know that, luckily my job gave me a lot of the connections, but a lot of my connections have come through going to events, doing podcasts like this, just getting out there with my intentions. And like you said, other people are looking for that. And those relationships will come from those things. So that's the process I would go through if I was entering this whole world right now.
Yeah, it's very true, and that's who we're looking for now, right? So I imagine you're in a similar position where now you're the person, right? You're
Mm-hmm.
Ryan, you're Ezra. Like you kind of taken that role. Obviously, Ryan and Ezra are still doing amazing things, but like you're at that level now where you're making decisions and you're investing in the kind of the next generation, the future. And we're the same way. We're
Yeah.
trying to hire aggressively, and I can tell
Yeah.
you what you just said
Exciting.
is 100% true. Like there's a lot of people I feel think they need to try to do everything or try to do
Yes.
things that'll look best and give me the highest paying job. But like right now, we're looking for people that are kind of laser focused and super passionate about specific things, right? Like if you're saying,
Mm-hmm.
hey, I've done social media marketing and I've done content marketing and I also spent money on Snapchat ads and Pinterest ads and Facebook ads, like that's not who we're looking for right now. We're looking for the person that just came in and said, hey, I just am obsessed with Facebook and advertising and I've
Yeah.
managed over $1 million in the last year and here's how I set up campaigns. Like that's the person I want because that's the person who I know is going to geek out and is going to absorb
Of
stuff and
course.
want to improve their skills and like can build a team around a person like that. So it's interesting
Of
how
course.
it just there's kind of a hand me down of like, hey, this person helped give us a start. Now we're here and we're doing it. And just there's like another every few years, another kind of generation of people that are where we were a few years ago, and you can identify those traits that like we had then, and that's who we're looking for. I'm sure that's who you're looking for when continuing to build the team for everything you guys are doing on the traffic side and the coaching side.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's exponential growth, and this is what's exciting. I actually have a book coming out in a few weeks called Click Happy. And the premise behind the book, like this book is what I wish someone would have handed me 9 years ago, like just kind of a digest of what our industry is, how to find your place in the industry. Because I also see a lot of people who, like, let's say, for example, they think they should be in content marketing, but they don't actually like it. And so, like you said, it kind of turns into a job And that doesn't work in digital marketing.
Yeah.
Like this stuff, you have to be innovative. You've got to stay up to date. This stuff changes every day. You need to be curious. You need to be consuming other examples, like able to really go to a creative place to be successful. And if you don't like what you're doing and it feels like a job, I mean, it's probably not going to work. So I don't know exactly where I was going with that, but I think that, oh yeah, as we pass this down, like you said, it's almost this exponential growth because there is so much more of a need for it. I mean, even everything going on with COVID right now. I mean, look at all the businesses that are migrating online and that this was their final push to realize like, hey, we need to be utilizing digital commerce and digital marketing. So the need is only going to continue to rise. So I think that the work that we're doing, especially this show, my book, the courses, like this is going to grow exponentially in terms of the amount of people that are entering this industry. And I don't think it's necessarily going to be entrepreneurs. I think it's going to be people that are looking for a job, looking to learn, but that are specializing in these certain areas.
Definitely. So the book is like right in my mind because I definitely want to talk about that at some point in our discussion. So let's transition because I want to talk about, I have a question about the book, but that kind of leads into education. We'll talk about what you guys are doing on the training side. So I asked Russell this last week, like writing a book is we've talked to a few people about writing books. So we talked to like Tucker Max and his company a few times. Like
Yeah.
it's a labor of love. Like it's definitely an intimidating process, right? We all imagine like what it's like when you're writing a paper in high school or college, that thought of like, I got to write 10 pages and it's a blank page, multiply that by, 10 or, 50 or 100. And that's gotta be writing a book. Like why write it? I guess that's the question. Like why write a book and like, how intimidating is it to start that process?
Yeah, great question. So first, I'll come out and say that I really, really love teaching. Like I said
Yeah.
earlier, like writing blog posts, podcasting, getting on webinars, training, like that is what makes up most of my week. I really enjoy it. And I've put a lot of content out there in the last 8 years. So I've got a lot of stuff to work with. I guess that makes sense. So for me, it's not as much starting with a blank page. I will also say that I did hire someone to do the writing, but I didn't go with like a run of the mill company. It's actually a friend of mine. Her name's Laura Gale. She does amazing work. She only works on one project at a time. It takes her a few months. Her and I have been friends a little bit over 5 years. So she really gets my voice. She gets me.
That's
And it
important.
sounds like me. And it is me. And so for me, yes, this has been a big project, like over a year. And a lot of that has actually not been the labor going into it because luckily I have Laura and I knew what I wanted this to be. It's honestly kind of the fear of putting something like this out there and people not being interested in it. Um, and I think all of us experience imposter syndrome
Mm-hmm.
in some parts. So I'm happy to be putting it out there. But when it comes to the actual book creation, for me, it was kind of like creating a really hefty course or workshop almost. And it started with the outline. What am I wanting to cover? In what order do we want to cover it? And then we found source material where I've discussed those topics over and over again and kind of placed them into this outline. And then Laura was able to start writing. And then I was able to go in and sort of, make it even more my own from there. So it's been a really fun experience. I wish I would have gotten it out a little bit earlier. I think just my own, I wouldn't say insecurities, but putting a book out there is, it's kind of like it is putting yourself out there. And especially because there's a lot more included in this book around my personal life and everything that doesn't have to do with business that I haven't really talked a lot about
Yeah.
before. So I think there are some fears putting that out there, but why a book? I mean, first off, I think there's definitely just authority that comes with a book. People think book, they think author, and
Mm-hmm.
there's credibility associated with that. So that's a big reason. And one of my clients, Gabby Bernstein, I've watched how her books have influenced her career in such a big way in regards to generating more media, more press, people just building that relationship and trust with her, without even having to buy a bigger box program. And so just seeing behind the scenes of a few people's career where books were huge, I was just already sold. And I also like most, especially with Smart Marketer right now, most of what we are selling is higher dollar memberships or courses. So it's nice to have this like $15 to $25 option, depending on if you get soft cover or hardcover, and just see like, what does this book do? You know, it's the perfect tripwire. It's an easy yes. I think it's going to give us also a lot of exposure outside of this market. I still want to continue educating current digital marketers, and that will always be my bread and butter. But I am very interested in going more of the career opportunity approach and kind of looking outside of our industry and saying, hey, who wants this lifestyle? Who wants to get a piece of this, but doesn't know where to start? You know, because
Yeah.
this isn't a traditional career path. Here this is. And I see this being a book that people like you buy for their teams, that people give as gifts. You know, this is something my cousin Zach, he's 21. He's about to graduate college. He's already told me, like, I've learned more about marketing. He's a marketing major through your courses than in college, which, you know, we all know is true.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, he's like, I want to do this. Like, I want to work with you. I want to be a part of this. And I really thought of him with this book. It's like just what I want to give someone who's in that position. So yeah, that's coming out in a few weeks, and I'm really excited about that.
Love it. That's super exciting. And I know because even if you're not writing, and most people aren't like sitting, unless you're an author, like sitting down and writing the actual book, like the way you're doing is the way we would have done it. We may do it, which is, you know, you have these long kind of phone interviews where you just talk and you have deep discussions and stuff. And like, that's awesome. You found somebody that has known you for a long time, knows your style. That I think that's going to make it really amazing. What I think is interesting going into like the course model is your unique angle, which I think has separated your programs for quite some time, and now especially what we're doing with Ezra and going forward, is like I think the masses over here are focused on, okay, I want to create a program that I can sell to as many people as possible, make as much money as possible, and so they're structured to be mass market. And right now, it's either biz op, make money online, or it's market education, but both are kind of aimed at anybody. What you've done,
Yeah.
which is really smart, is like, we're going to help you train your team and train people. Like, it's training. It's not like, here's how to run Facebook ads so you can start, you know, a social media marketing agency. It's like, no,
Of
here's
course.
how you can empower your team of media buyers, your team of marketers to level up their skills, which for somebody like me,
Yeah.
we're continuing to build our media buying team. That's a really, really valuable asset. So I'm curious, like, where did that angle come from? Because it definitely has separated you from everyone else that's creating
Yeah.
courses.
Well, it started with my story. You know, like I was the employee avatar. So that is the most natural first person, especially with me kind of leaving DM, doing agency stuff for a little bit and getting back into training. That was the first avatar we knew that we needed to speak to, because that was the avatar that was going to relate to my story, or the business owner that was going to buy this training for the employee, which is more of Ezra's avatar. So this made perfect sense because it was who we were.
Yep.
And so we knew we could serve these people. And of course, we're going to launch similar offers that are sort of like Train My Traffic Person, but for social media managers, for email marketing managers, for data analysts, et cetera, et cetera. But I do see us doing what you just said also, like maybe some more business opportunity type of offers, maybe even more career op, even more so than we're doing right now, train your team, maybe even more like, here's how to get a job. So I do see us scaling out to that place. This is funny because this is a conversation I just had with Ezra and John before we got on here. And we're trying to say, like, what does a year or two down the road look like product line wise, so we can make sure what we're building right now fits that, because that's a problem with an info business. You end up with 50 products that make no sense together as a product line. So we want to avoid that. But we started with the people that we knew were already in our audience and that we knew we could help. And now we can scale from there. So that's the plan.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, once you have the foundation, then you can easily expand. And it's much easier, in my opinion, to have deep authority and more advanced programs and then expand to like info biz op type things because of the authority. It's more legitimate than like just starting there. And I guess
Yeah, and
don't want to make this
sorry to
too.
cut you
Yeah,
off.
that's fine. Go.
Oh, just really quick,
Yeah.
I want to throw this in there. Also, if you do too much at one time in the info space, especially in our industry, your products will suck.
Yes.
Like you, I think that there is this misconception because the industry again is so new still, and there isn't a huge like there isn't what do you want to say? Let me reword this, but I think that info courses in the past haven't been as good as they are now. And I think that will continue to be the case, right? Like the bar
Yeah.
will continue to raise. And in these days, I feel you need to put just as much effort into the production and upkeep of your courses as you would the product that you're sending if you owned an e-commerce business, right? Like it is that important. And so I just see a lot of info marketers or people that want to get into info. They're like, I'm going to have this huge product line and I'm going to churn all these products out in a year and make all of this money. And it's like, yeah, it's possible for you to produce all of that, but like, are you going to maintain it? Is it going to be a solid product? Because that matters nowadays. 8 or 9 years ago, any information about this stuff that I could get my hands on was good for me.
Yep.
Even if it was like black hat, shady shit,
We bought
I
everything.
still consumed it and I knew what filter to use of this is good and bad, I should do this or I shouldn't, but we were just so deprived of information. It was so new. Like, there was no standard for this. And that is not the case nowadays. We're still in the early phases of this, but the bar has raised and will continue to rise. And so I just think that's really important. If you want to get into education, if you want to get into info marketing, do it because you actually want to serve people and then profit from it. Because otherwise, you're going to put crap out there. And I just don't think that's what the world needs right now. So
I
I
agree.
just wanted to put that out there because
Yeah.
we put so much, that is of the number one value to Ezra and I. Like that is what we put the most time on, is the product. And I think that's a big part of what sets us apart too.
Oh, it definitely does. So I want to run some like future projections by you and get your thoughts on this. So I see, I've talked to a good amount of people about this in the last 6 months or so, like the future of the info industry. I see it going like it can go a few possible ways. And I'm curious to get your thought on which one of these scenarios you think is more likely, or if it's a scenario I haven't even outlined here. So, scenario one, I think, and this is one I'm kind of leaning more towards and how we're structuring some of the stuff we're doing, but there's a reason why we're doing it. It's not just because of this. Is information has kind of been, at least bulk of information has been commoditized. You can get it anywhere, YouTube, you can get a lot of it for free. And so I see a path where most people start putting out stuff for free. We're forced to put out stuff for free. Just lots of value, like courses become free. And then it becomes all about the training and the like monthly stuff and the engagement and the coaching. That becomes the stuff you charge for. Scenario two is kind of like a masterclass model where it's lots of higher quality content, but it's more subscription. It's not high ticket anymore. It's just high quality. And people are start acquiring other people and building an umbrella brand where they have lots of experts creating content. And then like scenario three is it goes like ultra premium, which is like courses and stuff still exist, but they become very high ticket and really like super high production value, really advanced stuff, cutting edge stuff, updated regularly, have, software built in or more advanced, tech built into it. So those are like, and again, they're not all the possible scenarios. Those are the three that I think are like most common. And for us, this last thing I'll say, and then I'm going to open up to you. Like for me, the first option is the one at least that we're looking at. One is because we have lots of other businesses, and info for us is like we
lead gen to sell your
services.
services.
And we know we can't invest, or we could, but like it's about just what's our best investments. Like for us to compete, and compete, it sounds a negative word, but just like play in the same league as you and Ezra, right? Like that would require a massive investment to put out that much content, that high quality stuff, have that many people coaches and stuff, like totally radical shift for us. And so for us, it's like, well, why don't we just give away all of our stuff for free and then make
Yeah.
money partnering with people like you guys who have the advanced stuff, you have the team, the resources, the desire to do it and work out deals that way. And we tested that essentially in the last month because we gave away all our courses for free for coronavirus, like just to help people.
Cool.
And we have
Yeah.
over 6,000 people that have downloaded our courses. And we literally haven't run an ad. We haven't done anything. It was from like a Facebook Live I did and a group post and one email to our list. So to me, like I think there's an opportunity there, but I'm curious to get your, because you have a better pulse on, I think, this industry than I do right now.
Yeah, good question. I do lean more towards one also. Uh, Really quick, something that I already know is that it's really never about selling info. And I think that term will go away. I actually did a little bit of consulting with Kajabi a few years ago. I love those guys, and they're such a good like product focused company, but
Yeah.
also looking forward to like what this means for all of us. And they're using the term knowledge commerce, which I think is really smart, and it's very representative because to me, knowledge is about showing someone what you have done, like specifically. And I think what you're seeing is like, yes, there's more free information, and that will continue,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, yes, information will become commoditized, but number one, and we already do this, the monetization is different. You'll notice that in all of our offers, what we're actually selling is access to us,
Yes.
the team, some sort of templates, software, swipe files that are actually tangible. You know, Train
Yep.
My Traffic Person is something we teach twice a year. The mentorship, we have a digital version, but the mentorship, it only happens twice a year because I take 120 students and teach them live week by week for 16 weeks. And there's a lot of feedback. They're submitting their ad copy, their ads, like there's homework, there's lots of back and forth. There's a survey where I get to know them and their business. It is hands on because I see that that is the biggest issue or opportunity in our space is that yes, there's a shit ton of information out there, but the amount of people that are actually able to take that information and apply it to their business is very small. And so yes, information is becoming more commoditized, but whatever you want to call it, the coaching aspect, the access to us aspect, that is hugely valuable. And that is actually what we are usually selling. That, or like I said, hey, here's an email course and you can have all of our email templates and things like that. So I think it's already been heading that in that direction for years. And that's why most of our offers are positioned in that way. Something else that I think you will see more of in a paid way is as this as the information does become more commoditized, people want more of a, I wouldn't necessarily say step by step, but they want information. They crave information as every day goes by that's very specific to the journey that they're on. So they want to learn Facebook ads for e-commerce, right? For apparel. They want to learn exactly what to do if they're a brick and mortar or they're a local business. So I think you're going to see more of that, especially from us as Smart Marketer, smaller courses that are very specific to an industry or a vertical or a certain business type, because there's more of a need for that now that kind of the general best practices, that type of information is already out there for free.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because that's the most common stuff that we see is like in our month, we do like weekly calls. It's, people get the value out of that because it's their questions are about their business. Like, and it's impossible unless you do what you guys are doing, but it's possible for most people to create a course that fulfills both needs, right? So you have two needs essentially nowadays with a course. One is it needs to be mass market so it can make money and be economical, but the other needs to be valuable to the person and relevant.
Yeah.
So you got to balance these things of like hyper relevance, but also like hyper
Yeah.
profitable. And you really
Yeah.
can't do those two things with one course. Like you need to be able to either have the training
Yeah.
component or the ability to create these micro courses because you have the resources and team and knowledge. And I think that's a really cool idea, like the micro course kind of idea where it's hyper focused to, people running gyms or people running, apparel ecom
Yes.
or cosmetic ecom, whatever it might be.
Well, because even with Train My Traffic Person, this is like a 60-hour plus course. I mean, this is like a college class on steroids. And that layered in with the coaching every week is why we are able to serve like it during the class. I'm like, okay, so this is how it applies for info. Here's how it applies for ecom. So we've already done this and we know it works. So it makes sense to just create those smaller products, and those will be great entry points, and people will feel like, oh, this is for me. And that's when you have a good offer, when someone looks at it and they're like, okay, this is for me, I don't have to ask. Because those are a lot of the questions that we get with some of our broader offers, especially because as is known for e-commerce, I'm known more for info. People are like, is this for me, is this for me? And we don't want them to have to ask that. So
Yeah.
I think more personalized, and this isn't just for marketing, it's education across the board, like being able to find online information and education that helps you accomplish that specific goal that you're looking for. It helps you get a job in digital marketing, like whatever that looks like. That's what's going to set us apart as info does become just more readily available. But what's interesting, I really quick, I also think that more information actually means that people are more confused than they've ever been, which
100%.
is um it's not what we're going for, but it's definitely what I see in the industry. So the more information that's put out there, especially by people that don't actually do what they're teaching and are just selling and putting stuff out there to make money, it usually confuses people and creates even more of a need for the stuff that we sell. I mean, a lot of people come to us and they're like, I've been through a few courses, read blog posts, I'm more confused than I was in the beginning. Like that created my need to work with you. And so I think you're going to see a lot of that also, sadly.
Yeah, it's definitely a challenging time because of that, because there's so much information and a lot of it's conflicting because a lot of people that are teaching it don't do it. So they just read a lot of stuff and then repackage it and change some things. It's like, this is either totally
Yeah.
wrong or it's an angle that doesn't make sense. And so you have people that are, they don't know who to turn to. And that's, I think there will be at some point in the next few years, kind of a purge, at least when it comes to people that can make a living selling info, because you can only get away with it for so long, like BSing, right? At some point,
Totally.
like maybe you get away with a few months or a year, but at some point when you get no success stories and nobody's saying this person like taught me something that helped, you can't keep
Yeah.
selling a product, right? You just need to kind of move on and
Yeah.
do something different because you can't make money that way.
Of course. Yeah. And, I think that some of the issues also, and I don't love to use the word issues, but just for lack of a better word, in our industry around this is because people that are selling these courses, as you're talking about, are needing to make money. The language and what they say when selling their courses affects the entire industry more than anybody
Yeah.
really understands. And a lot of that is stuff like, I mean, look around our industry. Most of us, and actually, I try not to do this, but yeah, most of us describe one another, or if you read about different people in the industry, it's all about six figures, seven figures, eight figures, and like assigning all of this monetary value to people. And I still do this part of it, but leading with case studies where it's like, hey, with Boom, we just spent $1.5 million on this campaign and generated 2.5 million. Like that is true. But and I will use that messaging sometimes, but I also do think we should be careful when we are doing that, because it's setting just improper expectations for the average student in our industry. And I think that that's also a lot of what people like us who are really trying to help these people, that's what we come up against. People join my course and they think that, well, usually this doesn't happen when they get into TMTP because I sell against this, because I don't want people that think they're going to put in $1 and get back $10 tomorrow because Facebook's a magic pill. Like that is not the case. This is hard work. And
Yeah.
it is consistent hard work. And I'm grateful for that. But I just think we should all be weary, especially us educators in this market, the language and the expectations we're putting out there to sell our courses, to get people on webinars. Those are also setting expectations for what people think are going to happen when they take these actions. And so we also need to explain that it is a lot of work, that and just set proper expectations. And I think that would weed a lot of the noise out of the market too.
Yes, here the problem is like I've spent the last year especially doing this, and it's mainly because like I don't frankly care. Like we don't need to make money with the info business, so I don't care if nobody buys our courses. But like doing
Yeah.
that exact thing, which is just telling people like there's no 4x ROAS campaigns you launch day one or make turn a million to 4 million. And being brutally honest, the problem is you still have a lot of people that are leading with that. And so if
I
you're
know.
if you're somebody coming from the outside, which is a lot of people now coming into the
You
industry, they have
want
no
that. It's
experience.
attractive.
Yeah, so they
It's
see
attractive.
and they don't understand that that's very unrealistic because they don't have experience. And so if you just
Yeah.
see two people advertising Facebook courses and this person shows a screenshot and it shows that they have a 10x return, they don't know that,
And they
wait,
spent $40 and they
yeah,
made 400.
so they
And
don't
it's
know that
like,
it's a screenshot of a retargeting campaign for 1 week during a
sure.
flash sale or whatever it might be.
I know. I'm like, if that's cold traffic, you have a problem because that should be scaled more.
Yeah, that's the biggest
Usually
question,
what I
right?
think when I see that.
I asked that, so that's actually funny, and I'll get back to the point. But like I've asked that in interviews before. When we interview media buyers, and they share like numbers
Yeah,
that just don't add up to me. I'm like, why did you not spend? Why do you only spend $50,000? Like, if you were getting a
I
seven
know.
x return on this
I
campaign
know.
for a digital product, like why weren't you spending hundreds of thousands a day? Because we do that.
Yeah.
Like, if we have a campaign that crushes, like we had one in Black Friday Cyber Monday, a makeup company, like the makeup eraser, and we had 4 days and it was crushing it. The last day we spent over $120,000 because it was making money, right? So if you're a media buyer and you get numbers
Yeah.
like that, you spend as much money. We had 10 ad accounts running. We were doing all kinds of crazy stuff because we couldn't get the credit limit up. It
Yeah.
was too small of a time. But like a lot of people don't know that that is just unrealistic. They don't know the red flags to look for. They don't know the questions to ask. And so part of me almost
Yeah.
feels like our industry needs two things. We almost need like a course on how to buy courses. Almost, and I've thought about this idea
Yeah.
like free, not like you don't charge, but like a program where people can go through and they know like here's the things to look for, here's the red flags, here's the questions to ask, here's the angles to look for in the retargeting, here's the testimonials to look for. I think we need something like that. I think we also need some type of independent third party, kind of like the Better Business Bureau,
Yeah. That
where they
validates.
audit basically anybody that puts out courses, they or share screenshots and use it to market, like has to get approved by them, and they certify that like we verify the accuracy
Yeah.
of these numbers. We've looked at their Shopify stores, their Facebook ad accounts, Google ad accounts, and the ROASs they're showing and the numbers they've spent are showing these are accurate numbers. Like both
Yeah.
those things need to happen, and part of me
Yeah.
has been like sitting on the sideline hoping that somebody just does it. The other part of me is like maybe we just do it at some point because it's just to help the industry because it's a very big challenge and I don't know how we get past it unless those things
Yeah.
happen.
I mean, the good part is that I think Facebook's doing a lot of the weeding out for us. I mean, you
Mm-hmm.
see a lot less offers like that in your
Yes.
news feed because, Facebook just doesn't look at those types of sales pages as good business practice and will immediately shut your account down usually if you're making any sort of claim, as you know. So that's good that the traffic platforms are sort of weeding out. And I think it's way less like it was 8 years ago where, it was basically this industry was kind of everyone being an affiliate of one another and like washing these different offers through. So I do think you see less of it, but I think, of course, a governing body would be amazing. I don't know how that would work, but I think a lot of it, like you said, is just educating people on how to even be educated about this stuff. And that's something that I needed. And especially, like you said, whenever I see something positioned as like, I might say that I did this launch and I had a 5x return because that's a whole marketing campaign,
Yep.
right? But when I see like this Facebook ad campaign at a 15x return on ad spend, unless it's retargeting, like you said, I'm like, wow, that sounds like you initially did a good job and then you didn't scale it. Like,
Yep.
that doesn't even make sense. So I just think us being careful and further informing consumers of like what they should be looking for, I think that's definitely needed.
Yeah, I totally agree. I know we're over an hour. I want to be respectful of your time, and I want to give you the opportunity to share. I know we've talked a little bit about the programs and the book and everything, but for anybody that's listening, watching right now, that wants to learn from you, wants to learn from Ezra, wants to be part of the community you guys are building, wants to get your book, like where are some places they can go to
Yeah.
do that? I'm going to drop the links obviously and everything, but just would love to hear
Cool.
how they can learn more, can
Yeah.
invest in what you're doing, which I recommend everyone do.
Thank you. A few different places. So, smartmarketer.com is where you can get a general overview. There might not be anything about me on there yet because this is a new relationship, but you can get a feel for the different things that we offer. I specifically teach Train My Traffic Person that you can find at trainmytrafficperson.com. Join the waitlist. Like I said, we teach that live class twice a year, and we're also launching a digital version soon. So, if you hop on the waitlist there, you will be notified. And then I also have teamtraffic.com, which is the monthly membership for media buyers that are a bit more advanced and like really doing this every day, have clients or work for someone. So that's at teamtraffic.com. And then the book isn't out yet, but that will be at mollypittman.com/book, probably the first or second week in May. So really excited about that. You can find me on Instagram at Molly Pittman Digital. Ezra's at Ezra Firestone. I think for both of us, Instagram's definitely the platform we spend the most time. So definitely follow us there and keep up with our day to day. And yeah, send me a DM and let me know how I can help you.
Love it. And like I said, guys, this is I talk about this a lot. How courses are a dime a dozen. Programs like this, they're definitely premium, right? They're going to cost more, but it's about what you're getting out with it, right? You can spend $1,000, $2,000 on a course. There's no commitment. There's no accountability. You're not forced to show up to anything. Like the programs that Molly is putting out, the programs that Ezra and them are putting out in the future, like they're advanced stuff. So if you want to level up your skills, you need to invest in yourself, right? It's so important. Invest for your future. And I couldn't
Yeah.
recommend these programs more. So we'll have the links below us. Molly, thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. It was awesome to get
Thanks,
to chat
Maxwell.
for a good amount of time, and I look forward to chatting soon.
Likewise. Thanks, guys, for